When looking at different types of self-defense with bladed weapons, I have always tended to go towards the axe versus anything else. And I'm not saying anything else is not as good. It's certainly an opinion type thing. But I always tend to be drawn to the axe. And the reason being is throughout history, the axe, the fighting axe, has been used to great effect in a lot of warfare. And there's a psychological factor along with the physical factor as well. Uh, the axe is something that's very primal in nature. It's very, when you pick up the movements of an axe and you understand some of the things, especially a modern fighting axe, you begin to understand that just how devastating it is in a close quarters environment. It's not the only be all, end all weapon for close quarters, but I think it is something that's just very, very formidable, and I tend to go towards that. When you look at training with an axe, it's kind of very straightforward. There is some flashy stuff, but I'm not a fan of the flashy stuff. Just by design, you're transferring kinetic energy very, very well. And I look at the good self-defense as something that's very simple with an axe. It's very simple. It's very straight to the point. It does great damage on your opponent, and you don't have to worry about learning all this fancy type stuff that may or may not work in the field. So I tend to go and kind of gravitate towards axes when we're talking about just straight up bladed close quarters heavy weapons. The axe also does have utility. I'll go over that just a little bit in this video. Axes you can use for other things than just self-defense. It just depends on the design of the axe, I guess. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick and kind of go over it a little bit more. But this video is kind of centered on this axe right here. This is a cold steel trench hawk. I have some budget axes in my inventory, and they're budget axes because I just don't have a whole lot of money, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on an axe, honestly, when these axes will do just fine for me. But this is a budget priced axe. First off, the price, according to the website on Cold Steel, they're listing it at $67.99, but you'll find it typically for a lot cheaper. You go on Amazon and whatnot, sometimes you'll find them for less than $40. You may have to pay a little bit of shipping, but they're not expensive at all. So it's a good axe that anybody can get into if they're just wanting to test the waters and see if it's something they're into. So the trench hawk here, the cold steel trench hawk, it's designed to be a fighting axe. It can do other things. You can chop wood with it. You can do some other tasks with it. And you can also throw it. If you look at the Cold Steel website, they're throwing these things all over the place. So it looks to be a good little thrower. I'm not into throwing axes. That's not my thing. So I'm not going to speak too much on that aspect. I'm talking more just fighting with the axe. That's more what I'm interested in. So while this can do other things, it doesn't have some of the features that make it really stand out. Like, for example, as far as splitting wood and whatnot, just the design of the blade, it's not going to be the best for splitting wood. Not when you got something out there. You got axes that have more of a wedge in the head and whatnot, so that way you can split wood more effectively. This is more something for nitty gritty, close quarters self-defense. Hacking of meat and bone, pretty much. So you can use it for other things, but that's what I believe this is more marketed for, self-defense. So some quick specifications on this thing. So it's 29 ounces overall. The blade length is 3.5 inches right up here, and I'll take this sheath off here in a second to show you. Blade steel 1055 carbon. It's a polypropylene, according to their website, handle. It's connected right here. This is the blade. This is the head right here, and then you have two bolts connecting the handle to the head. It's 19 inches, and this provides, the way they have this set up is this provides a way to replace the handles, which I'll kind of go over because handles do break on these sometimes. It has their, what they call the Secure X sheath. It's just a Kydex, propylene Kydex type sheath. So I'll take that off right here, set that to the side, and then here's the head of the axe right here. It's very thin. You can see there's not much of a wedge to it or anything. But this is for fighting. And it has a little bit of a beard right here. It does have some grooves right here, so you can hold up near the top of the head if you want to. This spike right here, very well made. So you can use it on items or your opponent if need be. Same with the blade. The blade does come pretty sharp from the factory, so that's a good deal. And also it's a nice sharp point on the spike here. Now these two connection points, the one thing to note about this is, yes, these handles do break sometimes, especially if you're throwing them or if you're doing really, really hard use. Sometimes they'll break right here. This is kind of a weak point right here in the design. They actually have replacement, for less than $10 for each handle as a replacement handle. You can take these two bolts off, throw another one on, and you're good to go. That's a good thing. At least they kind of know, hey, that these handles do break sometimes, so they'll tell you right off the bat, we sell replacement handles. I mean, yeah, and it's a good deal. I think some talented people out there probably could fashion a wooden handle or something else, maybe even a metal handle or something to throw on here with these bolt attachments, and I haven't really done the research to see if people have, but I imagine somebody that's smart could do it. But overall, for what it is, the handle's pretty strong. This right here, you see the little gap right in here. This could be one weak point right here, and where I've seen in other reviews where it failed, it's kind of right in this area. And that's just from leverage of chopping and whatnot. It is what it is. So it's not a perfect design. So keep that in mind. If you're going to buy one of these and use it heavy use, then I would probably invest in just getting a couple extra handles. I've been doing some research online. Seems like they're typically less than $10, like $6.99, $7.99, $8 and whatnot for these. And they come in various colors, FD, OD green, black. I have a Warhawk that I'll review in a different review, and that's a black handle. The handle itself is pretty slick. This right here is something I did. I had a whole bunch of these like Ranger bands. So I put them on here. I put it on my Warhawk as well. They're rubberized, so it gives me a little bit of a better grip on this, so my hand's not slipping at all. That's one thing. It's just a very basic handle design, and you could get a little bit of hand slippage, but this makes all the difference in the world to me right here. The handle swells a little bit at the end, and you do have a hole right here, so if you wish to attach a cord or some sort of retention or whatnot, you certainly can. Overall balance is pretty good on this. It feels good swinging it around one-handed or two-handed. I think that's really, really important when dealing with a fighting type axe. You want something that's not too light, and you want something that's not too heavy. And the reason I say that, in my opinion, if you have something too light, like for example, I'll use this as an example. This is from SOG. This is just a little camping survival hatchet. So this is really lightweight and really light. Very cool. Would it work for self-defense? Oh, you betcha. It would work no problem, but it's extremely light. I'm not going to get as much energy transfer because there's not enough mass. This has a little bit more mass to it, mass and leverage. So because of that, I'm going to get a lot more energy transfer, and that's what I like about this. It's not a tiny little type axe. It has a little bit of size to it, and that's what I like. If I'm going to use something in self-defense, I want something that has a little bit of mass, a little bit of leverage behind it, where I can really do what I want to do. Again, you can choke up with it pretty good. It doesn't. I have pretty large hands. The rear spike doesn't dig into my palms or behind my thumbs at all, so that's no issue. So for those choking up on the axe for really close quarters type work, that's a good deal right there. I like that. Overall, there's no sharp edges. The machine work is good. The finish work is pretty good. I have no complaints when it comes to that. One thing to note with these type axes, they do sell trainers. So if you're going to buy this axe and do a whole bunch of if you're going to dedicate yourself to really training with it, I suggest buying the trainer. It's like a rubberized type deal, and it doesn't have any sharp edges on it, so that way you can really swing that around. That way you're not being unsafe and you're not going to unintentionally hurt yourself, because that's the thing. These are sharp edges. Just a quick little safety note. If you're going to be practicing swinging this thing around, number one, if you don't have a trainer, put this thing on. Put it on. Don't be swinging this around. Be very careful. If you're actually chopping wood, just be very careful, because pointy edges, it's not fun getting poked or stabbed with these things. So overall, for the price that you see them out there, they're really, really awesome tools. I reckon if you're into axes and whatnot, either a gift idea or getting one yourself to throw in a bag or to just practice with, I think is awesome. Axe techniques, I see it on YouTube, just kind of searching. There's plenty of videos on YouTube talking about it, from the old Viking techniques to more modern day stuff with tomahawks and stuff, and that's cool. And that's where these things shine. It's not as plentiful as, you know, it seems like knives are the thing that everybody talks about, and that's cool. I like knives, but I really like stuff like axes. I also like spears. Spears back in the day were just the scourge of the battlefield. It was hard to get past a good spearman. So, in any case, be sure to check them out. Cold Steel, I like their products. Not every single one of their products is ultra high speed, but a lot of the stuff they do have is really good gear, and it's inexpensive. They do have some more expensive stuff if you choose to go that route, and it's a little bit more high quality. But for most of us, this stuff works really, really well. So check it out. If you got any experience with these, feel free to let us know. Again, I do understand that, yeah, this is a weak point right here. So I do suggest, again, I'll just reiterate, if you're going to buy this and have it for really hard, heavy use, then I would invest in getting an extra handle or two, because that's going to be inevitable. I mean, just how it's designed right here, the more you whack with it and hit hard things and whatnot, you're going to induce stress right here, and eventually it's going to fail. It is what it is. So, all right. Thanks a lot, as always, for watching. Feel free to throw in those comments, do all that stuff like you've heard in all my other videos, and most of all, stay safe out there.